Well, I'm going to open a part in a second, but I just want to give a little bit of a foundation. We talked about so far marriage, parenting, men,
women,
femininity, yep, women. And now today we're going to be talking about dating. And it's going to be from the context of either you are dating or you're raising children that you want to help navigate through that dating season. So let's just pray so that we're all open to everything that is said today. God, I just thank you for what you're going to say today to us, and we just ask that you would help us to just align our mindset and ideas with yours. God, that even as we take the straight stick of the principles of your word and we lay it flat, God, that you would show us every area of our life or our mindsets or thinking that are crooked or just a little bit off. So, Lord, we just thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so last week we shared a little bit of our story, and for those who weren't here, Antonio was dared when he was 14 years old to propose to me. We liked each other. It was a joke. It didn't obviously happen that young, but it did eventually happen.
Maybe.
I did not say maybe. You don't have it on?
It's on, but it's not working.
What were you going to say?
Check. There we go.
Is it loud enough?
Good. I don't know if it's loud enough.
Oh, there we go. We have kind of like just a really young, like we met each other at 7 years old. His family started attending our church. But we wanted to share with you, you can go ahead and put up that slide just for fun, a little bit of our dating days and into marriage.
All of those, huh?
Well, she did 4 of them. These are the ones I could find during worship on my phone. So I was trying to find I was actually trying to find our first date. I couldn't find it because it's really funny. But this is close to our first date over here. He actually asked me to go to, he went to a Baptist high school, and he asked me to go to, what was it, a play?
It's like a play, yeah.
It was like a play his school was going to.
Yep.
And because he couldn't drive yet,
his
parents drove us.
16,
and we went to this place called Baker Square. It's a restaurant in Minnesota that serves his favorite burger. And we had a burger by ourselves. They dropped us off and then picked us up and then drove us. And it was really fun. So, but that is close to that era, and everyone dresses like that again now, kind of. So I don't know what to say about that. But that's in the smack mid-90s. Okay, guys, you're all trying, but that's actually what it looks like right there. And this picture right here is my family went on a trip to Hawaii, and they wanted him to go with us. So I think we're about 17.
17, yeah.
And just to get to know us. And I was trying to find another picture of me going to Honduras to meet all his family, which was a year later over a Christmas holiday. And both of our parents really had a belief that they wanted us to see what we were marrying into and what the families were like. So they sent us, which was fun for us. So that's us in Hawaii at 17. Over here is an engagement photo right after we got engaged at 19 years old. And we're just babies. And that, of course, is our wedding day. And
wow.
We did not practice. He picked me up with a big poofy total princess dress, and we made it out.
I got lucky there because I didn't know if I was going to make it all the way down.
What that's supposed to mean?
I wasn't strong.
Oh, okay. That's what it meant. Okay. All right, that's fine. I'll take it.
All right. Well, we're going to be talking about dating now. Like she said, some people, you're already married, so maybe this doesn't apply to you, you think. But actually, our goal is actually to help other people who are dating, or maybe you want to help other people, and maybe you should be someone that they can be mentored by, because we actually really, really, really honor that and value that, because a lot of times there's not good role models as far as I'm in a dating relationship and I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to ask. And so we do like the parents involved, and we'll jump in on that. But if they're not, maybe they're not even saved. Maybe they don't even have a biblical worldview. So why aren't we getting involved in the dating and helping other people date their way to a mate, date their way to getting married, and so on? So that is our hope. That is our goal with even the dating thing when you're already past that. Is that all right? Yep. Cool. So where did this whole current dating, I want to start there. Where did we actually get here from? What's going on? We got all sorts of things going on. I actually mostly even view like social media as your dating platform more than anything. But how do we get here? I want to start there. Well, It used to be in the 1800s, 1700s, where dating was mostly a family situation. And it is not today a family situation. In the early 1900s, there began like even women magazines where they were teaching women how to dress. And if you dress a certain way, then maybe a man might find you attractive. And then 1920s, that actually really started to change because we became urbanized. It used to be into the farm fields, and all of a sudden we're getting into the cities. And then 1930s, 1940s, the vehicle came in the picture, money came in the picture, and so that the guys would come with their nice car, with their little bit of money, take the girl away from the family into a cafe, into a dinner, maybe into XYZ, a dance hall, and then the family, the parents, became separated from that whole idea, where they were not involved, they were not engaged, they barely even know the guy, or they barely even know the girl, and it became a totally separated situation where the guy or the girl were figuring it out totally on their own. And if the guy was, this whole idea of the guy is buying dinner, or the guy is buying my drink, and so on. That all came from that. But before, that guy was coming over to the girl's house and eating dinner and hanging out with the family. And the family was actually going to evaluate this guy to see if he was all right, or if the girl was all right, and so on. The whole evaluation became, he's a great guy, he opened the door for me, and he bought me dinner. That's your evaluation for a good guy? That's the evaluation for a good husband? That is very, very low as far as the evaluation goes, especially when you get infatuated more than anything in the first 6 months. He could do no wrong. She could do no wrong. We get these glasses on, and you don't see anything that they're really like. You guys know what I'm talking about? So this whole idea of dating has to be looked at properly from a biblical worldview inside the culture that we still have. We can do that, actually. Our kids are doing that, and we like it very, very much. Now, I got to say this. This is the biggest thing for us that I would say would be the biggest challenge to help navigate the dating season.
It's been the hardest parenting season, I think is what you're trying to say, of all the
That's
seasons
what I'm trying to
that
say,
we
yes.
had.
Out of all the seasons.
I mean, you think toddlerhood's hard, you think
Yes.
newborn's hard, you think teenagers are hard. I think I was not prepared for how difficult or maybe engaged we'd have to be to help all of our kids walk through the dating period to finding spouses.
Right. That's exactly what I was saying. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So here's some real quick cultural norms that we would like to challenge. A parent is considered a legalist or stifling if they make rules for their children and expect them to be followed. Parents have made the number one goal of raising their children to have a good education, not to pursue Jesus or have a godly husband and wife. I remember talking to someone, a close friend, and we were hanging out, and in fact, I was mostly bringing up, hey, this is where my kid at that time was at. He's dating a girl. And his son was very similar age to my son. But their kid had just gone to university. And I'm like, what's your guys' situation looking like as far as the dating thing? And he's like, he's not going to be dating anybody. He's got 4 years of school. Really? He's not going to be, he's going to go with his eyes closed in every classroom and every hallway? And what do you think? What are you thinking?
He's focused.
He's focused. He's diving into school. I'm like, you are so mistaken. You do not know what you're talking about. The goal is not just to talk to them about passing 4 years of school. The goal is actually to help them figure out what they're going to be doing, who they're going to be looking at, what they should be looking for, etc. Because they're always looking. Every guy, every girl is always looking. True? So why don't we help them look for the good stuff, the right stuff, and get engaged and involved with regular conversations. And that should be the norm for as far as parents are concerned. So let's keep on going. It's okay for girls to pursue boys. Now,
These are cultural norms, not what
cultural
we are
norms,
saying.
especially when they're really little. Like, I'm not talking about when they're older, but when they're really little.
Well, we're primarily talking about when kids get, like, we hear a lot of parents, they're like, oh, it's just normal for them, girls and boys to like each other. They're 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And we are like, if they're not ready for marriage, they're not ready to date. Because people always ask us, what is the age you let your kids date? We're like, are they ready to get married? Well, that's the age. And it might be different for each kid based on the situation.
Yeah, so date your way to a mate and eventually one will stick. Heard that a lot. Now, there's some other components to that. So it's actually very challenging to say some of these cultural norms because they're generalizations.
And there's always nuance.
Right. So parents don't need to be involved in their kids' decision for who to marry. If it's true, here's the question. If it's true that the number one decision that a person makes is to follow Jesus, but the second most important decision is to see who they're going to marry, wouldn't you think that you would, as a parent or parents, should be involved in that season? Shouldn't you get involved? Like, it doesn't make any sense where they're just going to try to figure it out on their own when they really don't know what they're doing. We need to get it. Parents need to get involved. And the children should be taught as a cultural norm in their home that this is how we're going to do it. We're doing it together.
I mean, I think we talked to our kids about it probably as young as 4, 5, 6.
100%.
We're already talking to Zion, and he's 7.
Right.
It's like, these are the, things that you look for. This is the man you need to be. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but yeah.
Let's go into principles. We're gonna nail down some principles for dating. All right. Principle number 1: value yourself. Value yourself. So here's the question. Now, if you're helping somebody as well, you should be asking the exact same questions for them. Do you really value yourself? Do you know who you are? Do you know what you're about? Because the other person's not going to help anything. It's not going to solve them. It's not going to fill some hole. But do you value yourself worthy to be pursued by a good man? Do you love and cherish yourself? It sounds weird, but it's true. Do you view yourself, how do you view yourself in your own eyes? Every guy and every girl should be asking that question. Do you view yourself as less worthy that you chase the right girl or pursue the right girl, or are they pursuing you in the wrong way? There's a value deficit both in men and women, and that's actually why we have a lust problem. So we don't value ourselves, so then we don't value other people. But it has to begin with us first.
So women, right now, this is something that was really shocking for us, being parents. So we have mostly sons, and as our boys were entering junior high, we started noticing that it was the girls who were pursuing the boys, like primarily. Like they were going and being like, here's my Snapchat, here's this, and they're just super flirty, and we're always like going after our boys really hardcore. And this has become really the norm of our day right now. Is the girls are kind of conditioned, and I think part of it is what he said, that value deficit or that core insecurity, or their worth is the foundation of their worth, they are told, is in how they look or how beautiful they are, that the attention of a male is what tells them I'm valuable, right? So they are constantly doing it so that they can feel valuable or worthy. And I just want to say, whether you're a parent or you're in the dating season, what you are willing to show or what you're willing to do is what you're willing to also give away, right? And you have to have a certain level of value and worth for yourself to understand the identity that you have in Christ to be able to, hang on, don't want to miss that one little point.
You got your own notes.
I know, but my printer printed them super weird and I can't read them.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. I'm like really lost on my notes. No, you moved it.
That's why I use an iPad.
Okay, well, I'm sharing.
Okay.
But the greatest temptation for women, I think I said it in the femininity talk, was actually to control, right? We see back in the garden, Eve is like wanting to be in charge, and men's is to be spiritually lazy. And so, if this is kind of the thing that's going on all the time that we have to battle, we have to understand women, our physical bodies, it is a very powerful thing to control men with a physical body, right? You can get in that vein where that is what you're doing. And so for women, it's really important that we understand that we are worth being pursued and we are worth being chased. And we have to stop letting men be conditioned that they just sit back and women just are going to come and talk to them and all the things, right? From a biblical standpoint, men are the pursuers.
Yes. For men, the world is really crying out for men to lead, for men to have conviction. And what I mean by leading, I don't mean like being headstrong. That's not what I mean. Yes, you should be strong, but I actually mean that you are leading and guiding that relationship from the very get-go. That's what I mean, where you're actually setting the standard for purity. You're actually setting the standard of, I'm just gonna go cut to the chase on some things. You should, as a guy, be creating the atmosphere for going and hanging out in the right places. If that guy's leading you in the wrong places, you should push the eject button right now. I remember this couple where the girl didn't want to hang out at all, ever, with the guy's family. But only one family. Do you think that's normal? Not normal. That should be a red flag. Something's wrong. Why don't you want to hang out with my family? Why don't you want to meet my parents and connect with my parents? What's wrong with that? Something's wrong with that picture. It's actually uncomfortable. It really is. It's so uncomfortable for the guy to do that. It's uncomfortable for the girl to do that. But it should be mostly around that as far as hangouts, especially in the very beginning. So guys need to lead that relationship in those atmospheres, in the right atmospheres, not in the wrong atmospheres. So also for guys, one of the, he's not here today, but Kaya is a guy interested in my daughter. They're dating, okay? So one of the first things, as soon as Kaya asked me, hey, can I date your daughter? I'm like, yeah, let's have this conversation. Face to face, not over text. And one of the first questions is like, before I say yes, I have some questions for you. I did not ask him, what's your educational plan? What's your financial plan? What's your investment plan, portfolio? I didn't ask him those things. He doesn't have that. I already know that. I am looking for what's the seed in this man? What does that look like in this man? What's the potential of this man? Is he a hard worker? Does he respect his mom and dad? Does he have a good relationship with his mom and dad? If he doesn't, something's wrong with that picture. But I wanted to know, if I say yes, what would be the purity standards that you're going to be having with my daughter? What do you view it? I want him to tell me. And I said, now, you may not have the answer right now. So I want you to think about it before I say yes. I want you to come back and tell me. Why would I be doing that? Because I value my daughter. That's why. And I want to see what this man is made of. If I'm going to go ahead, take my daughter out on a date, leave my house of protection and covering, I want to know that you know what you stand for. And I want to know that you're going to lead that way. Now, if you don't lead that way, then I want to know what we're going to do about that. I'm not just going to tell him, there's a lot of social media stuff. Whatever you do to my daughter, I'm going to do to you. It's funny, but that's not what we're into. We want to take it actually really serious. And part of it is to actually, maybe he's never thought about it. You know what? He went to his dad. He talked about it with his dad. He came back and he told me what he decided based on a conversation that he had with his dad. Hey, I like that right away. Like, oh, you had a conversation with your dad. That's your first place that you went to for mentorship. I like that. Okay, 2 thumbs up for me. And then, okay, so now you tell me your conviction that you're going to be standing on, that you're going to help, guide my daughter who's 19. Tell me, what's that going to look like? Because I'm not going to be controlling. I'm not going to be a helicopter father. I mean, I want to. Don't get me wrong. But that's not what I'm going to be doing. Okay? So I want to know what this man is going to be leading, how he's going to be guiding, what are his standards. Now, listen, most dads are not asking that question. Most fathers are actually running away from having this conversation. Where, for the norm, if the son is actually going to talk to the dad, that dad is mostly running away. This is a cultural norm. The dad is totally running away from that conversation. Totally running away. So that girl has no buffer, has no protection, has no covering. So guess what? That girl should actually go and find some sort of mentor to actually become that buffer and that covering, because that father's not doing his job. Because that guy should respect that covering or that buffer in some way.
Share some of the things that you asked Kaya at that meal.
I don't remember all the questions.
I just think it would be helpful to men that are trying to do that.
Help me.
Well, I
You're putting
think
me on the spot.
I think you asked him just different questions about his relationship with the Lord.
Oh, yeah.
You asked him about what he thought dating was for.
That's right. What's the purpose of dating?
And he was kind of shocked, I think, and he did this because
I have to probably go back to my notes and my phone and the questions I probably asked.
Yeah, because even as we've taught on dating, now that we've walked boys through, now it's a girl, it's a little bit different. But it was really good because I think Kaya stepped up to everything that you brought to him, which has been really great for us to see. And we're in real time working this one out, so you guys get to witness it.
For girls.
For a girl. But he stepped up to every question he had, and if he didn't know the answer, Antonio was really kind with him. You were really discipleship-oriented. It wasn't like, I'm coming at you because you're coming at my daughter, like he mentioned that attitude. When you have a good man coming in and wanting to pursue your daughter, just what I mean by that is not all of the budding virtues are fully blossomed, but you see them there, right? You see the seeds of character. You see the seeds of wanting to do things the right way and God's way and honoring and all of that. I think a good role that a dad of a daughter should take should be to disciple that, right? Should be to grow that.
I feel really bad when the guy, he has to just, try to pursue that girl without the dad's covering, and that father is mostly running away from that conversation or that relationship with that guy. It's pretty sad to me, because what I think should happen is that guy should, there's a really famous, some of you guys might get this, some of you guys will not, but there's a really famous movie called The Godfather. And in that movie, Michael Corleone is saying, I remember my dad, he told me to keep your friends close and keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Well, a lot of times, I know this may not make sense, but a lot of times we view that guy coming around our daughters as an enemy, with adversary. And what fathers do, not me, I'm not including myself in that bucket, but what guys mostly do, fathers mostly do, is keep distance from that guy. He's coming over, he's running out. I got a meeting. I got to go somewhere. I got to do something.
Well, he's avoiding the emotions that he's feeling, doesn't know what to do.
So as a father, got to get involved, got to get engaged. I want to know who this guy is. I want to know what he's around, what he's like. So, and the guy needs to see that you're around. And the girl needs to feel safe because dad is around.
And I want to mention, a lot of people are starting to date. Now, we mostly had kids because we got married young. Our kids are copying kind of what we did, actually. And finding their spouses fairly young. But, when you're older and you're dating, some of these same principles hopefully still apply. And I know as you get older, hopefully you're getting wiser. And I know there's things like dating apps and, people find each other on those and social media and all of that. Still make sure that you have standards for yourself, that you have somebody that's covering you, that somebody is speaking into that, right? That, like, we were talking how how much better it is, like if you're going to go on dates with people, that it's initially a coffee. Like there's been this weird thing in the church where it's like, just because for us, when we say that the point of dating is for marriage, doesn't mean that when you date someone, that's the person you're marrying. Right. Can we see the distinction there? Right?
Like it's good to go on dates. We think it's a great idea.
Like go on a date and keep it low stakes. Like don't have it be such like this huge thing that, oh, those two went for coffee. Oh my gosh, the engagement is next. Not necessarily, okay? And it's like, what are we doing? You know, we've kind of made it really hard for our young people for a good 10-year period of time. We saw this happening, where especially in Christian circles, like we've been in YWAM circles and we've seen this. It's like no one can even look at each other or they're like getting married. And that is so weird, right? Stop making it so weird.
Yes.
Like, literally just be like, you know, if you're in a circle, and no, I'm not including dating apps here because this doesn't apply to that, because obviously you wouldn't see their character and you wouldn't see their friends and you wouldn't see all of that. But if you're in the same community and you get an opportunity, like we've told our boys this for years, like observe them. You don't have to date them right away. Like observe them, find out about them. Like what is their family like? What are their friends like? What's the word on the street? What's the reputation, right? Like, do they have godly character? You can find that out pretty quickly by seeing who their friends are around them and what the conversations are like. So, you know, when you see somebody that, guys, I'm talking to you, that has these qualities that you want, ask them for coffee and just, you know, go for it. But if it is something like a dating app or you don't have that opportunity, that is when you keep it low stakes. Right? Like just go, have different questions that you ask, go, you know, maybe have a second time, third time, whatever. Don't do the meal thing, because if you don't like them, you're stuck for a couple of hours. Like just do the coffee thing. But I don't think we did number 2.
We didn't?
No.
Oh.
But I just wanted to throw that in there. So principle number 2.
We're going to speed up through some of this stuff.
Okay, this one is maximizing your singleness. That period of singleness, so the first one was value yourself, second one's maximize singleness. There's a period of being single where you're supposed to not just be seeking for a mate, but you're seeking God, right? It's just like this is the period of time that you're growing in God and you're becoming everything that you're looking for. Did everyone grab that? Like you're becoming what you're looking for. Like if you were to make a list, and all girls have them, I don't know if guys actually have a legit list like we do on our phone, but it's like...
I think they do, but it might be a little bit different.
It's in their head.
It might be a little bit different, yeah.
But like if you're really giving it some thought and you want to find the right person, right, most of us will have a list. And the whole goal of the list is to become the list. Right? To become the thing on there. You're becoming someone. You're not just looking for someone. So there's a period of time where you're becoming somebody. And so you shouldn't even be dating if you're not ready to get married. Like there's really actually no point, because you're just going to bring a bunch of baggage into your relationship and a bunch of regret and pain. And even the idea that he was talking about in the beginning about dating, how the car came into the picture, you know, there was this dating culture that prepped people for divorce. It's like you would date somebody and then you would give certain things away physically, whether that's your virginity or just makeout sessions, whatever. You're giving these things away and with no intent of marrying that person. And then as soon as they kind of annoy you or bother you or they show something that's a red flag, it's like, oh, that's over, move on, right? And you can see how that can condition you for this kind of divorce culture, where it's like, as soon as I don't want that person, I'm just going to move on, where, you know, that makes it really difficult when you've given a lot of yourself to a person. So you want to figure out as much as you can before you start creating those really deep emotional and physical ties. And I just have to say, because we've taught on this for years and years, and some people don't know what fornication is. Fornication is sex outside of the marriage covenant, right? Adultery is sex outside of the marriage covenant when you're married. But fornication, sex is supposed to be reserved for inside the marriage covenant. I feel like we've talked on that, but when it comes to dating, there is no point in dating where that is given to a person until your wedding day. That's the goal. That doesn't mean that if it's already happened, there isn't redemption, there isn't restoration, all of that. But we have to know what the straight stick is to know what is kind of wrong, right? What the curved stick looks like. And so if we're looking for a good person, we have to be seeking God ourselves. The word single actually means to be separate, unique, and whole. W-H-O-L-E. So to be single actually means whole. It's not the half of someone. right? So like when you are dating, I think when people are single, lots of times they're like, I got to find my other half, or I have to, I'm only like half a person. You're not. The whole goal is to become whole and healthy. And so that's what we want to do in that period of time.
Principle number 3. Do not start dating until you're ready to pursue possible marriage. Now, we already said that. So it's not about age. It's mostly about, can you handle marriage? And I would actually say this, because as soon as you're, getting married, you're actually high chances you're going to have a kid. So are you ready to be a dad? Are you ready to be a mom? If you're not ready to be a dad and not ready to be a mom, why are you pursuing? I know it sounds, I'm putting some standards here that we should at least consider. At least consider. So, like Michael, he's not here this morning, but Michael, within 4 months, he made us we became grandparents. I was not prepared.
You weren't ready.
I was not ready.
For the grandpa title?
No, that one took me
We were like 43?
I'm a grandpa? 42.
Were we?
42. Yeah, 40. Yeah,
oh,
something
yeah, we
like
were.
that. I was shocked. So I was just getting used to the idea that my son's getting married, and then all of a sudden I'm a grandpa. Are you kidding me? What are you thinking, son? I'm just kidding. But I'm not going to go into too much. No, I don't want to go into. Let's keep going. There's a lot. So principle number 4. He initiates. Now, I'm not talking about, let's just say, online dating, which is, man, if that's your thing, go for it. Do it, okay? What I'm mostly talking about is around an atmosphere, around a room, okay? Now, girls, it's so funny. Girls think, okay, yeah, I bought into the idea that he initiates and I respond, but then what happens is that she's never even making her, I'm just going to be honest here, especially in Christian circles, she never gets ready. Maybe Christelle should say some of this stuff so you don't hate me.
You want them to hate me instead?
I'd rather them hate you.
Well, I think for women...
They'll swallow that better if it's a girl talking.
I mean, there's kind of 2 pendulum swings when it comes to women. There's women who want all the attention, and then, then there's women who are so pious they almost could be a nun. Okay, we have to get it somewhere in the middle.
Well, they pretend to be.
Well, if you don't get ready, like, again, we've been in these Christian circles for a long time. If you don't ever wear makeup, like, where's my mom? She's here. She used to say to me, every barn looks better painted. And that's a fact because, put some makeup on, like, laugh at his joke if you like him, curl your hair. I don't know whatever your thing is to make yourself feel good and feel beautiful, but there is an element of attraction that is physical. And for the guy, it's pretty high up there. Hate to tell you. I'm the one breaking it to some women who don't know this. It is actually crazy. Some women think, and a lot of the times I understand that there's some inner healing work that has to get done. Like some of these women, like they were either sexually abused or something happened. So some women actually self-protect that way. So guys, just so you know, some women do that. But ladies, like take care of yourselves, like exercise, eat right. Part of this reflects the discipline that's in our lives too. It's not just about the physical outward appearance. There's a full attraction that's the whole person. And I know for me, like the times of my life, because, I've had 6 kids, so my weight and how I've looked and now I'm aging, everything's fluctuating, all the time. But I've noticed when I'm trying and putting effort for him, I can tell he appreciates it. Do you appreciate it?
Oh, my God.
You're supposed to affirm that?
Yes.
He's like...
Oh, my gosh.
You had an opportunity, you missed it.
What are you talking about?
I'm just kidding. No, but for real, like there's an element of, I think sometimes women quit because they're like, it's just too hard. There's certain points, but you're working to work on the outward person and the inward person, right? Not just one or the other. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay.
They both work together in tandem, and that's the goal. Guys, too. Like guys have the exact same challenge where they're not taking care of themselves, yet they're, doing certain things like porn and thinking that they're going to get a girl that they're looking at on pornography and thinking that they're going to get that. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. So
probably not the godly woman you want is like that.
Here's a couple Bible verses. Proverbs 31:10, a wife of noble character who can find. Here's the goal that he initiates. The goal is that he's actually supposed to go and find her. He's supposed to go and look for her. Where is she? What does she look like? I have to go and find her. The guy should be helped and trained to go and help find that girl. And also be taught how to talk to girls. I know it sounds funny, but guys have to be taught that texting or DMing a girl is not the way. It is to be, boom. So a girl starts clapping. And a guy too, I think. The goal is for a guy to talk to a girl face to face. That is the goal. So how do I talk to the girl? How do I get to know the girl? I know it sounds really amateur, but it's actually true. How do I have a conversation with the girl? Because all of a sudden, when the guy likes the girl, all of a sudden, he doesn't know how to talk. He gets real tongue-tied.
Well, guys aren't that great at talking.
And they're not like girls. Girls can run circles around guys. They read body language when they're 3 years old. Guys don't have a clue what she just said or what she's trying to say, and we don't get it. Guys don't, I'm 48 years old and I still don't get it. So guys, you got to get to practice. You got to get to work and learn how to communicate to women. So when you're around the girl that you really like, you are halfway decent. Maybe you won't be no Casanova, but at least learn how to talk to a girl. So,
wait, I just wanted to say, when it comes to Proverbs 31, when you're looking for, that's kind of the chapter of what you're looking for. It says, a wife of noble character who can find. It's not talking actually there about feelings. And chemistry is powerful, but it's character that sustains covenant. Okay, so I want to just say really quick, this is not in our notes, but I did a little mini study this week on Samson. And Samson was a guy who was given, a calling. And this calling was pretty high. I mean, he was part of, the people that were supposed to be set apart. He wasn't supposed to cut his hair. His mom was told, all these different rules for Samson. And here's Samson as he gets older. He wasn't super wise in the female department. Okay, he had 2 different women that were mentioned in Scripture. One was a woman in Judges 14 named Timnah. And this is all he told his mom about her. He said, "Get her for me, for she's right in my eyes." Okay? And basically, that language, when you break it down, says it appears to be physical attraction, impulsive desire, emotionally driven, and not spiritually aligned. Okay, then we see this kind of on repeat because he didn't learn his lesson with that one. He goes and he gets Delilah, right? And that's in Judges 16. And the word that's used there is called Ahab, and it's a certain type of love because he says, "For I love her," okay? And it's a kind of love that means strong emotional attachment, infatuation, vulnerable attachment, and no spiritual discernment. And we can see this because she betrayed him multiple times. She tried to get him assassinated. I mean, come on, if that's not your first clue that maybe this isn't the right relationship. Quite a big red flag, I would say. If we're doing red flags and green flags, not a green flag. But it was a desire-based emotion. It was emotion-led. It wasn't aligned with God's covenant boundaries, and it was based on his personal weaknesses. That's typically what chemistry is. When people say, "I don't feel chemistry," it's usually those things that they're looking for, instead of covenant love. So.
Let me get real practical for guys for a bit. And if you would write these questions down, I think they're going to be really helpful long term. Even if you're not in the dating season, maybe you're a young married couple, you should write some of these questions down for the guy. You're going to help guys out by helping them answer these questions. So guys should ask these questions. Number 1, does she have noble character? Proverbs 31. Is she modest? Now, how do you know she's really modest? It's one thing when she's around you, but it's a second thing of what she's revealing on social media. Actually, it's kind of a normal thing now for our family, for our boys, and Isabella, and now our daughter-in-laws, that the first place we all go to check out this person is on social media. First place. And to even continue to get to know this person on social media, because what happens on social media is what she's portraying, or what he's portraying is his norm. It's her norm. And so what is she revealing? Is she modest? Actually. Will she follow your leadership? Can you provide the lifestyle that she expects? Now, it doesn't matter if she comes from money or not from money. What does she actually expect? Asking those questions. Is she like the worst woman in Proverbs? A nag, loud, quarreling, foolish, unfaithful, dramatic. I remember Michael when he started to date. And I'm like, what are you looking for? He goes, I just don't want a drama. I just do not want a life of drama. And then the second one, he goes, I just want her to be teachable. I'm like, well, why teachable? Well, teachable is, I just want her to grow in the Bible. I want her to grow in character. Because if she's not teachable, she's got some walls, she's a know-it-all. And so, is she teachable? Is she going to grow? Is she this type of woman? Here's another one. I think this one, I actually wrote this morning. What is her view of men? What is her view of a husband? What is her view of a father? Her father. Because how she views that dad is how she's going to, more than likely, view you. And that is a big question that I think every guy should know. What is her view of her mom? Here's another one. Is she a one-man woman? Is she seeking men's attention? Goes from boyfriend to boyfriend. Is she a flirt and dress for men? Those are great questions that every guy should be asking. I didn't write this one down, but I keep thinking about this one. What's her relationship with sin? What's her relationship with sin? What does that mean? What, does she take ownership when she fails? Or does she pass the buck? Does she blame or make excuses for that sin? Does she take responsibility for that sin? And how fast does she get rid of that sin? Does she actually change her lifestyle? So what's her relationship with sin? Great question. Okay? Here's one that's really big.
I would add to this, does she have a lot of guy friends?
Does she have a lot of guy friends? What is her relationship with those guys? Is she hardworking? Does she bring profits in? Does she do tasks? What's her relationship with money? Really great question. There's actually a great book. It's called The Millionaire Mindset. You guys, Gabriel, Justice, we were just talking about it recently. Justice, you know what I'm talking about?
Are you asking if that's the right title?
The right title. Okay. It's something like The Billionaire Mindset. It's such a great book because you actually learn to see what your relationship is like with money. The habits that you create, the habits you saw your parents in, how you view money. What did your parents say about money? I just don't have any money. It costs too much money. Am I made of tree? Is money made out of a tree? All these questions are a really good evaluation. Let me keep going. Do you want daughters to be like her and your sons to marry someone like her? Does she value a family? Do you want a family? If you want a family, does she value a family? I remember a close friend of ours. I was actually in their wedding, and she did not want to have children. And he wanted to have a whole bunch of children. Well, they were already married. And he didn't ask these questions. 5 years into marriage, and they were already in their 30s. He wants to have kids. He knows that he's getting older. She's getting older. They never had that conversation. What are you going to do? If she doesn't want that, but you want that, if you don't have these questions, you are screwed. Okay? So this is a hard question. That would be a make or break. It should be. You should exit that relationship if you're not getting those answers. I don't know why we don't ask those questions. What's her relationship? Oh, okay. Very practical. After a season of hanging out in groups, okay, we actually have this, kind of a really general, basic, simple formula of what we've taught our kids. You want to jump in on that? Like, how to view a dating relationship?
Well, we talked about it with them from a young age. So we're talking primarily, again, when they're really young, because our kids got married really young. So it starts off like if there's somebody of interest, like if, let's say, I'm just talking from a parent's perspective to a parent right now. If there's someone of interest that your kid is interested in dating, or is already kind of, you're walking with them through, like, asking some of these questions, like, what is their character like? And you think your kids are, on a path, pushing the end of their high school years, potentially able to start identifying if maybe, this is somebody they could marry or not, okay? And again, the younger they are, the longer this process is, so we always try to push it back a little bit. But most of our kids have given us a run for our money in this department. So we just try to keep really involved with it, right? We're talking about, like, what's your character like? What are the things in your life that have to grow? What's her character like? What are the things in her life that have to grow? And it starts with this season when it finally gets to a place, like we just mentioned, our daughter Isabella with her boyfriend, her current boyfriend, Kaya. And we talk to them, because it's the most recent one we've done, but we've done it with all our kids. Like, okay, you're in a season of what we're going to call intentional friendship. And whatever you want to call it, that's what we call it, intentional friendship, which basically means there's, no physical touch. You guys can start to, like, get to know each other in group settings. So they can go and hang out over there, at his parents' house, or come to our parents' house. We did say with most of our kids, we want it to be 80% of the time in a house with a parent. Okay, 20% of the time it can be in groups, but there's zero alone time unless there's the occasional date that you talked to us about, which we did allow after a bit of time. So, but we call that the intentional friendship phase. It is before dating. It is to see if this is something you even want to waste your time on, or if this is going to be a benefit for you. So, so the second phase of that is dating. So it took, I think, with most of our kids, about 6 months of the intentional friendship, give or take, where they're like 2 to 6 months. Like, is this something that they want, the path they want to go down? And then the dating thing becomes official. So either our son goes and talks to the dad and is like, can I date your daughter, or vice versa.
So both of those seasons are about evaluation. Both of those seasons are to be, I call it, now the younger generation don't know what I'm saying when I say this. Like, I remember Gabriel was on, what is that? Or Elijah saying, I don't know what that means. You keep saying kicking the tires. So you want to kick the tires of the girl. You want to kick the tires of the guy. You want to ask all sorts of questions about, and just completely having your eyes wide open on not just them, but how they're relating to the opposite sex, money, sin, the parents. All these things should be evaluated. When was the last time? Here's a good question. When was the last time they opened the Bible on their own? Do you know? Are they spending time with the Word? Do they spend time with God? Or the only time that they're opening up the Bible is when they go to church with you and you force them to? Well, guess what? If you force them to go to church with you, that's going to be pretty much a norm in the future. You're going to have a big challenge there. So all that stuff should be evaluated. So in those two seasons, intentional friendship, or whatever you want to call it, or dating, it should be an evaluation. Evaluation on how they treat me when I'm dating. How do they treat me with the physical aspects of things? How's their leadership? Or, how's their anger issues? I mean, I could continue going on, but they need to be properly vetted. That's the goal. It's a vetting season. The parents, if you're involved, get involved in the vetting season, asking the questions of that child. What do you think about that person? What are they looking like? When was the last? All these questions that they're thinking about, you should be thinking about. You should be asking. Now, if the parents are not involved, that couple should be going to a mentor couple and going and submitting themselves to that mentorship and saying, hey, you have veto power over this relationship that I'm into, because my parents are not going to be doing a good job. So would you help us figure this out together? That's what should be done.
Yeah, and then the third phase is engagement, and the fourth is marriage. So, those first two phases are kind of what we're talking about today. Let's see. So talking to women and addressing kind of the stuff Antonio just said, women we are always teaching people how to treat us, and men won't value or respect you if you don't value and respect yourself. If a man doesn't have real intentions for marriage, drop him. Okay? And don't waste your time there. Your loneliness now is infinitely better than being with a lonely man in a house. Okay, let's see. I said a lot of these things already. I wanted just to mention that it's important to have reasonable standards too. Like, there's a lot of women that I've seen their lists, and they're 17 years old, and they're like, I want him to be like Billy Graham, and I want him to, look like this person. I want him to pray this many times a day, and they have these standards that are really unrealistic for another 17-year-old guy. Okay, and again, this actually happens up into the 19, 20, 21. We've talked to all kinds of different couples, and they have these really high, unrealistic standards. And what I mean by high is just unrealistic. And what you are looking for is those seeds of character and the willingness to grow. That's mainly what you're looking for. And if you have a godly couple, whether it's parents or someone else in your life that can come and speak into it, they're going to see things that you don't see. Because we're blind. Like, when we start falling for somebody, guy and girl, we're blind. And so bringing somebody else in that can see different things. And, a lot of times I think when young couples want mentorship, they just want people to be their cheerleaders. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody who's going to come in and be able to see the red flags and the green flags and tell you them if you can't see them. So let's see.
Questions women should ask.
Should we do that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, questions women should ask. Do you want to help him? So you're dating someone. Do you want to help him and join him in his course of life? Okay. Will he take responsibility for you and your children? Is he a responsible man, or is he growing in that? Is he considerate and gentle with you? How does he view women? How does he view his mom? Does he make an effort to connect with his parents? Okay, what's his relationship with sin like? Does he repent and take responsibility, or does he blame and deflect? When was the last time you saw him open up his Bible? Will he be a good father? I remember when he was like 14 years old, and there was like 4 people taking care of kids for a women's Bible study. He was there. And my grandma came up to me, and she's like, that boy's going to be a good father someday. And that stuck in my mind, and he is. So will he be a good father? And you can see that pretty early. Is he a one-woman man? Does he just like attention of a bunch of women? Does he like to flirt and get the attention of flirting, or is he into you? We had a guy in our community at one point who really just wanted to get married, and he was hearing all these talks, and so he was getting the courage to go ask girls out or talk to them or whatever, but he started to get this reputation of doing it to every girl, and pretty soon all the girls were like, so now he had no opportunities.
Yeah, girls talk. Girls talk.
Girls are like, yeah, you did that to me too. They're all like, poor guy, couldn't find a girl in that community. So I don't suggest that. Like, guys, especially if you're going to get some courage that you didn't have before, maybe figure out which girl you want to target it on, that this is somebody that's for you. I mean, I know with Antonio and I, it was like we were blind to everybody else. It's like he was it for me. And I think there has to be an element where it's just like you sort of get there before you start, trying to go for coffees with everybody. Okay. How valuable are you to him? If you're dating a guy, how valuable are you to him? Does he work diligently? Is he willing to provide financially? Is he lazy or not? I always love this question. This is kind of the question that sums it all up. Do you want your sons to be like him and your daughters to marry someone like him? I think that puts everything in perspective. It's like, do I want my sons just like this guy? Because they're going to be just like this guy. Right? So.
All right.
This is about the parents, which we've touched on a lot already.
We did, actually.
So principle number 5 is about having godly counsel and honoring the parents. Even if you have parents that are not Christian, there is an element that you can honor them still. We've experienced that with some of our kids. Like, one of our sons went to the dad, and he was like, why are you talking to me? And he's like, because I want to honor you. And he's like, wow, no guy's ever done that. And he was like so impressed. You have an element of honor, and some parents want to be really involved. But there's a couple scriptures.
Honor your father and mother, which is the first command, with a promise that it may be well with you and that you may live long life on the earth. Ephesians 6:2. And therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined with his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Now, so there should be a resurgence of honor. I remember we were helping this couple. He was from Sweden. And in Sweden, they have a dishonor culture. The entire culture of Sweden, they do not call the parent, in school, they do not say Mr. Smith or, Mr. Baldovinos. They call them, the teachers are all called by their first name. That's Mark. That's Nate. And so they do not have an honor culture at all. So when this guy is sitting in front of us with the girl that he's interested in, he goes, I want to date her. I'm like, well, perfect. You guys already been together as friends for quite some time. Then why don't you go talk to the dad and say, hey, can I date your daughter? And so he goes, okay, I will. So he calls the dad the next day. He's in the U.S., and the dad is in Sweden. So he calls, and he asks, and the dad said, no, you cannot date my daughter. And so he came back angry at me for even supposing to ask that question, because you don't need to ask that question. He says, you don't even need to ask the dad for marriage. You just go and get married. Or you tell the parents, this is the date that we're going to be married. You don't even have to take the man's last name. You can come up with a new last name. I'm like, what? Yeah, you can come up with a new last name.
Which they actually did.
They did. They came up with a new last name.
They didn't like either of their last names, so
they came up with their own. That's how much dishonor culture that they have. So when he went back, the dad said, well, I want you to go talk to him again. Well, what do I have to do to earn the trust to date your daughter? So the dad gave him a little bit of a list. So he actually moved from a different city. Like, he lived 2-3 hours away from her. He moved to the city where she was at and became friends with the family, hanging out and doing the things that the dad asked. Eventually, he got married to the woman. They have kids, they have a family. It's a great testimony. But it was about honoring that man, her covering. And then let me say this. The Bible says that a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. I have seen some of the craziest stuff where after they get married, I know we're talking about dating, but when they get married, they don't leave their father and mother. They become attached to the mom or the dad in some weird way. And it becomes very, very unhealthy. Where they go, they all go. What they do, they do. However, the parents are involved. They have conversations, calling them advice, but they're not. They're actually controlling. This is very, very, I've seen it more normal than I ever thought would be normal. They even have, we've gone through 3 weddings now of our own. And I made sure that I was not saying just to Kennedy, welcome to our family. Even though she was part of our family, it's not about Kennedy joining to my family. In fact, it sounds weird, but I'm the extended family now. It's their family. You're leaving your father and mother, and they're making their own decisions. They're in charge of their time, their money, their future. If they so choose to become missionaries next week, even though I don't want that, it's none of my business. I'm not in charge. They're in charge. And he has a covering. She has a covering. It's her husband. So, none of your business. You got to learn to stay away. So, I become an extended father-in-law. I'm an extended father. I'm not just give my opinions or advice unless they ask for it. I want to, but it's none of my business either. You with me? Yeah. So it's really important that I'm having this conversation with Elijah and Liz and Michael and Hannah. None of my business. I want to. I want to say something. I've actually failed in this a couple times. okay? Because I want to share my opinions. I want the best for them. That's where the motive comes from. But sometimes it's none of my business, okay? So we want to grab a hold of this even as parents, okay? Principle number 6, we're going to speed it up.
Yep, we're almost done.
Dating redefined. No, we don't have to hit all that.
Nope, we hit a lot of it already anyway.
Oh, that's pretty good. Look at that.
Look at us.
We're pretty good, guys.
I don't know. I felt a little rough today, but
Yeah, a
we
little
did
rough.
it.
It's okay, though.
But really our goal when it comes to dating, and hopefully next week we kind of get into it more when we do Q&A. Usually we would pause right now and do Q&A right now, which would probably bring a lot of clarity to a lot of different things. We know that there's a lot of nuance in relationships. Like, we've talked to enough people to know that not everything that somebody says or preaches relates to you or your situation or whatever, but there is these godly principles that we have found to be really a safeguard that has worked for our family, and we've had to adjust some of it as time's gone on.
I would also say I want to be in a culture, in an environment where, number one, dating is a good thing. Dating is not a bad thing. I think that one of those books that happened in the 90s, what was it called? I Kissed Dating Goodbye, actually did a lot of harm. And that wasn't such a great book, in my opinion, because I want to see dating relationships happen. It doesn't mean they're getting married. It means that they're dating and evaluating. And so I also want to encourage parents to be involved in the dating relationship. I want to see that. I encourage that. So I want to be a part of a culture that dating relationship is normal. 2, the parents are involved and engaged and intentional with their kids, even when they're little. I have a video of Michael, and they all said it. All my kids knew of this. At 7 years old, I made him a video where he says, "I'm not going to date. I'm not going to be chasing a girl until I'm married." I forget his actual terms, what he actually said. It was so funny. It was actually, I showed it in their wedding. And my point is that they should be taught not to be pursuing, anyone when they're 7 years old, because it's a cultural norm. I remember when I was like 9 years old, first time I got a little note. It says, "Do you like me, yes or no?" Of course I said yes, but that's dumb. I remember being 12 years old, and my mom didn't let me go out, that night to go hang out with my friends because she found a note in my pocket. "I would like to kiss you. Come at this park at 6 o'clock. So I didn't tell anybody. I'm leaving at 6 o'clock. My mom goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm just going to play with my buddies." She goes, "No, come back in." I didn't get to go out that night because she knew the note that I had. She got it. We got to get involved. We need to get engaged. School. We want to promote dating, not discourage dating. We just want to do it in the right way, the biblical way. And we want to help other people date the right way. Is that cool?
And I want to add one thing just for women and mothers. I've seen this a lot where women try to kind of like live through their daughters, and they haven't conquered the lust in their own life, so it's still coming through into their daughters' lives. And you see women who are like, "Oh, look, like the little like concerts. We're going to go to the concert together, or we're going to dress this way together." And what that turns into as they get older is, they buy the alcohol so that they're safe in the backyard. And, it just becomes this strange thing. Like women, we need to be women of character so that we raise daughters of character. And I would say the same is true for men. It's just like who you are, and even if maybe you didn't have some of this in your dating days and you're still dealing with stuff in your own life now, conquer that stuff so as your kids age, you can walk them through to victory.